My favorite was running into Roy Hader at the Skills Challenge. He was just talking to somebody in this Bay FC jacket who had a press pass, and she introduced herself as Penelope. And it was Penelope Hawking. Out of context, it was immediately startling. Oh, yeah. No, I do know who you are. How'd you get a press pass?
I ran into her at a networking event right before the Skills Challenge around the corner at a bar.
It's such a fun weekend. It's such an overwhelming weekend.
I came out of that networking event, and the bar next door was hosting a party put on by the union, the NWSL Players Association. And I'm stepping out of the bar with our buddies from Gal Pal Sports, Leslie Ratter and Emily Anderson. And Alyssa Nair is just walking across in front of us on her way to that party. And Emily, just by instinct, just goes, Alyssa Nair! No, it's cool. I mean, this was the first year where I think we really got to Super Bowl week levels of saturation about, this one industry kind of taking over a town.
Hello and welcome to Expected Own Goals. We don't need no stinking home games edition. I am your host, Eric Morgan.
And I am Evan Davis. Gotham FC have won their second ever NWSL Championship, a mere 2 years after their first one.
And in both championship runs, they were the bottom seed, and they subsequently played no home games. In the interim year, they did play a home game, and they didn't win a title. So make of that nonsense what you will. Evan, let's just start with this game. I think you and I both had pretty different perspectives on it. You were up in the press area for a fair amount of it. I was on the sideline. I think from both of our perspectives, even when you came down and joined me for a little bit, we would agree this was a tense, attritional affair.
100%. I don't think that you can really look at the game through the lens of the result, because this thing was separated essentially by one moment of magic. Otherwise, as good as Gotham's press in the first half looked and as shambolic and disorganized as Washington may have appeared, Gotham could not punch through them. And the whole thing came to a standstill, which we thought could happen.
Yeah. Very much so. Both of our pregame predictions for this really tight, tense affair with not a lot of space to move in and operate for either team, that was exactly the game that we ended up getting. There were little flurries of action. I think Gotham's opening 10 minutes, I think the way Washington came out of the half going into the second half were these sort of moments of expansive play, and kind of when nothing came off from either of them, the game got a lot more attritional. It was sort of like a lot of pawn sacrifices, no big moves. And that was interesting in its own right, but did not make for the most attractive game.
Yeah, and it's only interesting, I think, insofar as the two best players for the first 65, 70 minutes were probably each team's defensive midfielder, and not for anything progressive either of them did.
Yeah, I think you could also point to people like Emily Sonnet, or just real organizing agents in there. To cut to the chase on it, this game comes down to Hal Hershfelt rolling her ankle, getting treatment, and not being subbed off in time for a replacement, and then a cutback pass to Rose Lavelle that any normal version of Hal Hershfelt puts a foot on, and it doesn't result in a chance.
Exactly.
That said, that isn't actually the only thing. It was just the decision upon which the game was decided. The refs, who had kind of a shocker, as far as I'm concerned, probably should have sent off Lily Reel with a second yellow early in the second half, really allowed the game to sort of escalate in terms of physicality and violence without carding. And I think we're a little gun shy in doing so. And I think that led to the game being attritional.
Yeah, Christina Unkel on the broadcast basically admitted as much regarding the officiating when she said, yes, you do in fact officiate finals and big high-stakes knockout games differently than you would other games. And,
which is wrong, by the way. And bad decision-making.
And it comes entirely from the concern that a sending off could result in the end of a team's season. And so you maybe let a few things slide that you wouldn't normally otherwise. Straight reds become yellows. yellows become fouls, fouls become wave-aways. And, like, you can sort of understand the human element behind that. Nobody wants to, point to the penalty spot and have that be the difference between holding up a trophy and having a very quiet flight home the next day. But it also shouldn't affect you when you know that maybe those decisions do need to be made. And I think you're probably right that Real, at the absolute best, Real really rode a very, very thin line in not getting that second yellow card.
Yeah, by the way, so thin a line that Juan Carlos Amaros was like, and I'm taking you off.
Exactly.
Razor's edge. I think, not to belabor the officiating point, obviously no mistake as egregious as, say, the 2010 Men's World Cup final where Xabi Alonso caught an entire boot to the sternum via Nigel de Jong, and it was in plain sight of everyone. But I think sort of from those opening 10 minutes on, every player was testing, and particularly with Gotham, I think every player was testing how much they could get away with physically.
Yeah.
And the answer was quite a lot. Washington maybe even start this out with Croy Bethune undercutting Rose Lavelle in the air early in the game. And that probably should have been a yellow card. Not that Croy was trying to hurt Rose Lavelle, but when you undercut somebody going for a header, you should probably get a yellow card. It's dangerous.
Our friends at Hey Spirits had a different perspective, actually, on all the Hershfelt stuff. And it ties into the officiating. They saw that, because it's actually it's very odd the way all of that unfolded in real time, watching it back. Hershfelt rolls her ankle while going in for a challenge on Rose Lavelle. She's down. She's down on the ground for a couple of minutes. Then she gets up and spends 3 or maybe 4 more minutes receiving treatment on the sidelines.
And trying to run it off, yeah.
Now, it's not quite clear to me, and maybe there has been comment from Washington or from the officials since that I just haven't seen. It isn't really clear to me whether Hershfelt was kind of directing herself to get off the field. And generally speaking, like, once you're standing and you're not immediately like in such pain that you go back down, that means you got to go to the sidelines to finish whatever it is you might need be dealing with. And once that happens, then Washington are playing with 10. And so the Hey Spirits folks were wondering, well, maybe Hershfelt just should have stayed on the ground so that you would delay a restart and then potentially give Adrian González and his staff enough time to realize that maybe they need to bring Deborah Abiodun in. Now, before you respond to that theory, I should also note that Adrian González, in the post-game press conference, said pretty point blank that they kept Hershfelt in the game because Hershfelt wanted to be in the game. And like, so where does the fault lie? Does it lie with Hershfelt for being pig-headed? Does it lie with González for not protecting his player and his team against herself? I don't know. But what happens is that they play with 10 players for a few minutes, which allows Gotham to build up a little bit of head of steam with a player advantage. And then when Hershfelt comes back in, when you watch the replay, it is so blatantly obvious, as you alluded to earlier, that if she isn't hobbled, if she actually has a fully healthy ankle, Rose Lavelle doesn't get a shot off.
Yeah, and again, it's not like if Abiodun's in there, it's not necessarily like Abiodun's in the right position to make that intercept. Who's to say? When it comes to like who is at fault with all of this, I think about all the times that a player's gone off for the amount of time that Hal Hershfelt goes off and then comes back on, even a little bit injured, and then gets subbed off without any fanfare occurring. Like, it's not something that is regularly punished. It happened to be punished in this time. It is not like somebody went well outside the range of norms as far as behavior is concerned in extending Hershfelt's opportunity to get back into the game, and then upon realizing that she wasn't able to play, well, taking her off. I mean, she walks back onto the field, and 45 seconds later, a goal is scored. And I'm not even sure I buy the idea that Gotham gets up ahead of steam in that period. It really just is an incredible diagonal from Sarah Szczepanski that is unlike basically any other pass that had been completed in that game to Bruninia, who has space and time to slow down the play and then pass across the box to Rose Lavelle, who slots home from 18, literally on the edge of the 18. It is a sequence of play that happens all the time. It did happen at even strength, and it's such fine margins. But operationally, did Washington do anything wrong? I can't fault González for wanting to keep Hershfelt in because she was having one of her best games, full stop, and had been a really crucial cog in why Gotham had created effectively nothing. I can't really fault Hal Hershfelt for wanting to get back up and play her way through a final. Like, that is a thing that we regularly celebrate as grittiness. And I can't really fault the trainer for looking a player in the eye who has Hal Hershfelt's temperament and mentality and saying, if you think you're good to go, we should give it a go. Again, and what's so tragic about all of this is I don't think anybody did anything inexcusably wrong. They just happened to all get punished for it at the same time. And so the blame should probably be shared, but also this is the way the game goes. These are the bounces. And as a fan, I'd be furious about these kinds of things. But also, taking a step back, this is just like we opt in to watch a game with a bunch of humans, and humans are fallible, and a bunch of fallibility happened. And also Rose Lavelle's very good and hits a hell of a left-footed shot. Overperforms her XG on that shot by a ton. So I don't know, if that ball doesn't get to her, that's the only thing that's stopping that goal, that ball not getting to her. And who knows, maybe a healthy Hal Hershfelt runs herself a yard deeper into the box. Or, who knows? It could go either way. I hate to Mighty Ducks it, but it's the classic Gordon Bombay Charlie scene where he's like, yeah, but 6 inches the other way. And, it goes in and Charlie's saying 6 inches the other way and you miss completely. Like this is sort of where we're at with this. I don't know. Do you disagree? Like, where does the fault lie for you?
I can hear what you're saying regarding González's thinking. And he did also mention something, and I don't
love what González said, by the way. That's not great. Like, okay. Eat that. Yeah, like, don't put that on Hershfelt.
Well, he's not. I mean, is he not? I don't think he's blaming her. I think he's trying to say, like, I back my player so much, and if she says she wants to be in the game, I want her to be in the game. I don't think he's blaming her when he's saying that. He also said that, like, we were just receiving information that she wanted to stay in the game. And I wonder if maybe there was just some measure of communication breakdown because she's getting treated on the far side of the field. She's not getting treated in front of the technical area.
Oh, for sure.
And I just wonder if, like, the minutes that pass, if that process speeds up, if they're closer to González, and therefore he can maybe also evaluate that she's actually not as fit as she wants to claim and can maybe pull her. But that's all speculation too. I think that it is a manager's job to do what is in the best interests of the club. And maybe González didn't have the full picture when he allowed her to stay in. That's possible. But if he did have enough information to know that she was pretty hobbled, then I think you have to admit that the team is better if Abiodun is on the field rather than Hershfelt, and I think you got to pull her. It's very you can when she gets off the field and yells in your face for pulling her, you can say, "I love everything about your energy and what you bring to this club, and I love this fire, and I want you to bring this to every single moment you wear a Spirit uniform. But trust me when I say that this is our best shot to win." Or whatever. I mean, but
by the way, you're putting together what I think is a very reasonable argument. Continue.
Yeah, and if it's also a thing where, like,
that scene,
yeah,
and
again,
it would have happened.
I was a little fuzzy too. Like, if it was also a case that, like, maybe Natalie Simon was trying to get them off the field before she stood up, and I couldn't really tell if that was possibly something that was going on. But I just think you got to protect your players from themselves sometimes. Yeah, and again, sure. maybe González just didn't have enough information to make an informed call just because of the fog of war, as it were. But, you can say also that, like, the only thing stopping Lavelle from scoring is if somebody gets a touch on the ball or whatever, or if the pass doesn't get there. But, she's taken 29 shots in her career, like at the edge of or just outside of the box, and she scored 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's not all that likely that shot was getting scored, even if she had a clean look at it.
No, I thought it would be funny to put together a little video where you just roll me essentially that pass 100 times and see how many of those get finished. The answer is probably not that many, if I'm being honest.
Probably between 5 and 9%, which is what every XG model pegged the chance as.
Yeah,
and it's also interesting when you go and watch the clip back that Bruninia is probably trying to get the ball to Midge Purse.
Probably.
And the ball actually takes a little bit more of a higher angle away from Purse, because you see Purse make a jump, like she does a quick step, which is kind of what Hershfelt is probably trying to defend against. And then when Purse realizes that the ball was actually going to be trickling away from her and out of the box, she holds her run because she wants to be available in the box to maybe get a header or whatever.
Rebound, yeah.
Yeah, so even as good as the pass was from Bruninia to the top of the box, it still probably wasn't the thing that she was thinking of trying to do. And when Lavelle and Emily Sonnet spoke to the media after the game, Emily Sonnet, of course, her big moment being the stack the pads, hockey goalie, full body block on Lacey Santos in the 55th minute. Both of them said both of those actions, the block and Lavelle's shot, were pretty fortunate to go their way. Both of them acknowledged the luck that was involved for those things to come off in Gotham's favor. And it should be noted that if Sonnet doesn't time that block right, Santos has got an open look on goal from 12 yards out, 11 yards out, and it could be 1-0 Washington in the 55th minute.
Yeah, Bethune plays a really brilliant little laid-off ball to Lacey Santos, and Sonnet throws her body at it. It's the save of the game. It's notably the save of the game because Washington didn't get a shot on target, which is wild. That was the first time Washington had not gotten a shot on target in a game since 2018 against the Utah Royals. Wild. It was the third time this season Gotham had held a team to no shots on target. The rest of the league combined for only 2 of those such games. Like, again, I think the thing that I sort of return to with a lot of this is knockout football has a level of chaos to it, which is kind of why we love it, but has a level of chaos to it that allows for kind of anything to happen on a given day. And on this given day, Washington didn't have a lot that worked for them in attack, but neither did Gotham.
Yeah.
And Washington's best clear-cut chance, not in terms of XG, but I think in terms of how we read the game, got bodied by Emily Sonnet. And Gotham's best clear-cut chance, not in terms of XG, but in terms of how we read the game, got slotted by Rose Lavelle. And Rose Lavelle has the humility and grace to acknowledge that, and so does Emily Sonnet.
What do you mean by how we read the game?
I mean, like, I would much rather have a slow ball played to me across the top of the box than whatever Emily Sonnet got for 0.23 XG. Like, I am much more likely to convert a shot that I can actually see the goal than I am to, like, it's not even, like, if you'd not credited Emily Sonnet's quote-unquote chance in the 53rd as a shot, I wouldn't have thought twice about it.
Well, incidentally, FB Ref does not count it as a shot.
Yeah, which is funny because various models did count it as such. Yeah, I feel like this is just a game where the bounces shook out one way or the other, and Gotham were lucky and fortunate on the day, but also had a good enough game plan and played solidly enough defensively to, like, allow themselves to win the game on a single piece of luck and then hold a lead.
And you would not say that about Washington?
No, I would say Washington, had it gone the other way, the same statement would have been true. They just didn't catch the bounce.
Can the statement still be true for both teams? Just one got the result and the other didn't?
Yeah. For sure.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like to me. I mean, this game, just to give everybody sort of statistical context, it's 0.5 to 0.6 on the XG split, 0.07 to 0.05 on the XG per shot split, 1-to-1 on the quality chance split, 14 to 14 on the box touch split. And just to remind people, 22 is per game average in the NWSL. 5 to 5 on the shots in the box split. And again, the NWSL average is about 8. This was kind of a miserable affair in that, like, whatever good that Gotham did and whatever good Washington did got completely nullified by just how tightly organized each team was able to defend the box.
Yeah. I think it's also fair to say that this is what happens when two teams come out in effectively the same formation a lot of the time and are good teams.
Mm-hmm.
Washington comes out in a back four with a single pivot at the base of midfield, though Lacey Santos dropped deep. Lacey Santos' defensive output over the last 2 months has been incredible.
Quite impressive.
Yeah. It explains why Mira hasn't seen the pitch much. Because everything you'd want from Narumi, Lacey Santos was also giving you plus her forward moving action. That said, Gotham comes out with a 1-4-1 press with their front six, which is a sort of identical overlay for Washington's version of the press.
Yeah,
exactly. And like Gotham, who, you know, I think have just drilled that particular press a little bit more, seemed to be ever so slightly more effective at it. And Washington, who really do like to progress the ball on the deck as opposed to over the top, kind of kept making the same set of choices. And Gotham was able to sort of break it up or stall it out. The number of times that Washington had somebody in behind, very limited.
Gotham really didn't get anybody in behind either.
That's right. This game was a stalemate on a stalemate.
Gotham had the field tilt edge. I mean, I've posted what the field tilt was before the goal was scored just to control for game state, but it's 57-43 in Gotham's favor.
Funnily enough, coincidentally enough, basically where the models were. So the models, in predicting the result, got the field tilt basically right. I forget who it was who posted this is a real loss for the XG nerds, or for the nerds, that Gotham had posted the worst XG differential over a playoff run of any team that had won a title in the league history.
That is correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of like, okay, but also whatever. The difference was negative 1.4 over 3 games. If you're winning games, you know, losing the XG battle by 0.4 or 0.5 each game, you know, like that's not crazy. Had they posted a negative XG value of like 3.5 or 4 over these games, yeah, then they'd be in the sort of realm of the lucky. But considering the individual chances themselves, most of that XG deficit comes from the Orlando game.
Yeah.
And we talked about those Jackie Ovalle chances.
But it is interesting to note that they are the worst. They have the worst XG differential of any title winner.
It definitely is interesting to note. I don't know how important it is, but it is interesting.
Well, and also that they are only one of 2 champions to ever post a negative XG differential. Mm-hmm. Them in Washington in 2021. So it doesn't happen very often when you are quote unquote outplayed across your playoff run and you still manage to be lifting the trophy.
That said, they did have almost certainly the hardest possible playoff run. It was the hardest possible playoff run. They had to beat 1, they had to beat 4, and they had to beat 2.
Yep, never playing at home.
Never playing at home. So I'm kind of not surprised that's the deficit they end up with as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point is that, like, the title kind of doesn't signify that they were the better team. They just had the results go their way at the right time. And I'm not saying, by the way, that like Washington would have been a more deserving winner based on this performance. I don't think that would be true at all. I think the real conclusion, the only thing that you can really take away as true or pretty well on the way to true is that weird shit happens in small samples. And when neither team is ready to stick their neck out and really risk anything, and they are of a relatively equivalent strength, then, you know, you give Tara McKeown and Esme Morgan and Emily Sonnet and Lily Reel the opportunity to shine. Throw Jalen Howell and Hal Hershfelt before the injury into that mix too.
Yeah.
But there was not a lot of indication that the game plan actually went much beyond stuff them. Either through pressing or through like packing the box on either side.
And I think this is where, to sort of bring it full circle, this is where I think, I hate discussing the referee, but the referee in the way that they chose to officiate this game, did nothing to help open it up. Did nothing to help. This is where referees probably should be issuing cards in finals. Yeah. Because if both teams come with the theory of just stuff them, all they're doing is putting the onus on you to call the game fairly.
Right.
And calling the game evenly and calling the game fairly are different things. I think this was an instance where the ref tried to call the game evenly, and it cost calling it fairly.
Yeah.
Should finals be like this?
You can credit Gotham, and I think by extension you should credit Washington with both of them probably defending this game the right way, though probably the way that you should play knockout football. Mm-hmm. But there are real questions to be asked of whether or not they got their attacking plan correct. And I think there's maybe there's a broader conversation to be had about, like, what does that part of knockout football mean? Like, what does it mean to optimize your attacking approach when you're in these kinds of situations?
And I guess where I'll hand Gotham the advantage in this game, is it a problem that Washington never registered a shot on target? It is. Some of that credit goes to Gotham, most of it, the lion's share of it. But, like, Washington really struggled with being proactive at points. But so
that's
did
the
Gotham.
Thing. Like, I think everything that you can say about what Washington might have done wrong in attack, you can throw it the other direction too. That's what's so, I think, kind of frustrating about trying to evaluate this performance or try to do what I think every human being instinctively wants to do, which is to ex post facto say, well, the team that won, they must have done something better than the other team. And I just don't know if that's really what happened here.
Yeah, the Lacey Santos chance is the chance that if you gave me an option of to assign to either team to try to win a game like this, I'd prefer to have over the Lavelle chance.
And I'll throw in there right along with it Bethune's chance in the 48th, which comes from Esme Morgan winning the ball and Rose Kwasi hitting like a nice driven cross toward Bethune in the middle of the box where she has time and space to hit it on the half volley. And if that thing manages to find the back of the net, this is also a different conversation.
Yeah.
You know, like when you look at like just the finishing luck, like Washington's underwater, obviously, because none of their shots actually ended up on target. Could have been different.
Yeah.
It could have been different. And it's hard to really argue that, you know, Gotham's defending or Washington's poor play is reflected in that finishing data, because we know what finishing is, especially in a one-game sample.
And again, I think from a Gotham side, like, you know, person for person defensively, everyone showed up and did their job.
And again, I think the same can probably be said of most of Washington, you know?
Yeah, no, truly.
Like, there are several moments where Tara McKeown and Esme Morgan in particular, and I think you can throw Rebe Bernal in there too, like, you know, and Hershfelt was her own thing, but the way that they could recover and like get back and get organized in transition and get in front of plays, and just those, and again, like the way that each team's backline just sort of collapsed inside of the box whenever there was a potential risk developing in the final third, to make sure that you just couldn't get a good look, I thought was pretty consistent until Hershfelt is on the field when she probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, and even that, like, I think it's unfortunate that is what the game sort of comes down to, but also in the grand scheme of sins one commits in a soccer game, how bad is that one? I think it's not that bad. Just what happened is, you know, like, worst case scenario came to pass.
And if that's the point of view that you want to take, and I think you make a pretty good case for it, then we really are left with probably the worst feeling that fans, pundits, analysts want to have, which is, I don't know, you know, like we're just sort of left shrugging our shoulders. It's, but that is the way of the sport, right?
Yeah. It also, you know, it's funny, like, I think maybe now is when we sort of transition to talking about what these teams were from a grander perspective. Starting with Gotham, look, were they underwater on the underlying numbers through these playoffs? Yeah, they were. is the narrative that they've been there before kind of bunk? It sure is. Only like 5 or 6 players from the 2023 team are on this team. Like, it's a complete roster overhaul.
Would you like me to read out those players?
Yeah. Read them out. We talked about this in the car yesterday as we were driving back, and it was
Yep.
like, it's stunning how much Gotham has changed.
Bernina, Midge Purse, Esther González, Mandy Freeman, Katie Stengel. Of those 5 players,
Oh, and Taryn Torres.
who didn't end up getting any minutes in 2023, so it's sort of funky to count.
Yeah, but she's on the team. You know.
But the point, more damningly, is that it's only Brunina that actually saw everyday playing time in 2023 of that group. Otherwise, the starting 11 and your impact game-changing players off the bench are completely different from what they were. You know, if you look at the season in toto, obviously, you look at the starting 11 of the championship, yes, Esther's there, Midge is there, et cetera, and so forth. But, like, the players that got Gotham to both the 2023 and the 2025 title games for their work across the season, it's only Brunina.
That said, in terms of like roster construction, Yael Everbush-West put together a hell of a team. So many of the acquisitions this year really put Gotham in a great place to win a game like this. Jalen Howell for Lynn Williams, great choice. Like, ultimately. Jaden Shaw down the stretch, great choice.
Yep.
Ultimately.
For sure. And I know I'm being annoying with this, but you turn it around and you look at the roster that Nathan Minion and James Hawken either inherited or built.
Yeah.
It's the same deal. Hal Hershfelt, nice work if you can get it. Gift Monday, Rose Kwasi, Lacey Santos, Croy Bethune, and Trinity Rodman available to use whenever available and healthy. Pretty good attacking front 5, you know?
Yeah,
and
Washington.
And Katrin Berger, you counter with Aubrey Kingsbury. Over and over again. Like, there really just isn't anything to say that like one team did a better job in any phase of this season. Even when you look at the season-long XG differential, it's 1 unit of XG difference that separates them.
Yeah, Washington ever so slightly better.
Yeah.
Than the also very good Gotham. Like, it's
exactly so.
Two very deserving finalists, you know, putting the Kansas City thing aside, 2 very deserving finalists meet up and play a not very good game because one has negated the other and vice versa, as opposed to because these teams were not good. These teams forced each other into really ugly football.
Yeah.
And Gotham got lucky. And Gotham got to attribute a slightly less polarizing word than luck. Gotham got the right player in the right place at the right time once, and that's not to say Washington didn't do that too. It's just it happened to go in when Gotham did it. Like, I'm not going to knock, like, again, 60-yard diagonal from Sarah Shupansky to Bernina to a ball laid across the box to Rose Lavelle is what you draw up when you are thinking about how to quickly progress down the field and try to get a good shot opportunity. And it went in. Like, that was a good sequence of play, unlike other sequences of play we had seen in this game.
And again, that sequence of play could have been, sloughed off to the dustbin of history.
Totally.
If somebody just gets a foot on it before the cutback comes across to Lavelle's foot. Or if Lavelle, like 9 out of the other 10 times she might take that shot, just skies the bar or goes wide of the post or over curls it and allows for Kingsbury to like comfortably catch it without leaving her feet. Right player, right time. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm not as scared of the word luck as you are. I'm already the less likable of the two of us to most of the people who listen to the show.
I don't think that's true.
I mean, come at me, haters. Like, Gotham got lucky. Washington didn't do anything to say that they were unlucky, other than the fact that 1 goal got scored. This game stunk. A lot of things probably should have happened that were within people's control that didn't happen, and some really good things happened that were not in people's control, specifically for Gotham. And that's just how it is. But 18,000 people were in the stands to see it, which was incredible. I have yet to see the TV ratings, but it all folds into what I think was one of the best weeks that the NWSL has ever put on for this championship in terms of spectacle, in terms of energy, in terms of attention. It wasn't perfect. We won't get into those things, but in general, especially when I did a lot of reflecting this week with people who have been around this league a long time, and I remember the first championship I ever covered was 2015 in Portland, Kansas City versus Seattle. I've referenced this before, but that game was played on a Thursday in late September, and players and coaches were available to the media for post-training mix zones and one match day -1 press conference in 2 days and 1 day before the game. It's a completely different scenario that we're experiencing now. And the amount of coverage and the amount of attention that the league is receiving at the moment is pretty remarkable. And for all the things that the league doesn't do well, and maybe we'll reference one as we close out, that should be brought to light. This is just now an event that people truly care about in America. And I think that's awesome. Because 18,000 people at PayPal Park, when both teams were coming from the East Coast, there was no guarantee that was going to happen.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, there is still a lot of room for growth here, but this felt like the most complete championship weekend I've been a part of.
For sure.
And the steps forward, even in the last 3 years, are pretty extraordinary. On the Washington front, I just want to say, like, that's a very good team. I fully expect to be back next year. I think when we were sort of making our way out of the mix zone, Trinity Rodman said something to the effect of like, and, we can try again next year. And truthfully, Washington, I think we'll be back there next year, given the way in which they have decided to aggressively pursue excellence in this league. Yeah. And have really executed on a lot of that. These are, in the sense that whatever you want to say about sort of like what the game ended up being itself, these are two of the best run clubs in the league that have top to bottom a vision for what their team is going to be and have done a really good job of making sure that they spend whatever money they can spend, Jessica Berman, to go and get the top level talent and put themselves in a position to constantly be competing for titles. These are, maybe they didn't play a model game. These are model franchises. I think that they are along with a couple other teams in this league, they are the standard of excellence you do need to be chasing. They are the bar you do need to hurdle.
Yeah. And whatever you might think of as a fan from the outside, that Washington chokers, or I don't even know really if that narrative's going around, but like
that's insane.
Just to like really underline, like just because they've lost 2 finals in a row doesn't mean that the spotlight won't be on them, and as you say, the standard of excellence won't continue to be set by them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're doing everything in their power. And somebody asked me who I was rooting for in this game, and I was like, I'm not. Yeah. But I am happy because the two teams that are here because of good process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotham was not an 8 seed by any metric except for the results, which obviously, quote unquote, is the most important thing that at the end of the day. But they weren't an underdog. They weren't a team playing at any kind of legitimate talent disadvantage. And they're not a team that you couldn't see vying for a title if you looked at like how they played across what ultimately became 29 games, folding in the playoffs, and maybe toss in some of the Champions Cup performances that they put in as well. Like, is a really good team. It's a really good team that has been building toward this level of consistency ever since Yael Everbush-West actually got the resources to build it, and they are now enjoying the fruits of their labor, as evidenced by the fun they were having in New York City today. Congratulations to Gotham. Commiserations to Washington. You will both be back, and we will both dig in. We will dig into both of you in the off season as we figure out what you both need in order to take another run at this.
As we begin our postmortems, our autopsies of the season.
Exactly.
Coming up after Thanksgiving.
We are going to be off on Patreon for Thanksgiving this week. If you are a Patreon subscriber, we'll be back next week, and we will be back behind the paywall next week on Patreon. We open up the paywall for all of our Patreon content in November during the playoffs, and if you enjoyed that and you're not yet a subscriber, we hope that you will click on the link in the show notes and for as little as $6 a month be able to get all 4 exclusive bonus episodes every single month, plus the main feed version of the show completely ad-free. So please click on the link in the show notes and sign up today and tell everybody you know who might be interested in doing the same thing. In the meantime, do everything you're supposed to do with podcasts. Rate us 5 stars, drop a nice review, and a follow/subscribe in your podcatcher of choice. Follow us on social media at XOwnGoals. That's the letter X Own Goals. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Blue Sky are chock-a-block with a lot of the content that we did this month for the playoffs. And if you believe we've made an own goal, please drop an email at expectedowngoals@gmail.com. That's the letter expectedowngoals@gmail.com. Hope everybody has a very nice holiday week, and we will be back with you on main feed and on Patreon next week.
Bye.